Thursday, July the 3rd. Welcome everyone to your Frontier Opening Bell. I am hosting Omafai Josta. A quick look at yesterday's trading day. Of course, this is the second in the new month after we started the market. Tuesday, the Nigerian stock market revved up by 50 basis points. That's 0.5%, taking the all-share index above the 120,000 level, crossing that new threshold, as it were. Big names on the trading day were largely out of the banking space, with the exception of Wema Bank, however, that brought about 71.13 million shares to the table. The rest were in the insurance and other non-banking names. Let's just move on to see the Ghana market was flattish, 6,246 on the all-share index. The BRVM in Cote d'Ivoire was down 0.75%. That choppiness that started at the start of the week continued until midweek. And then you've got the EGX 30 ramping up 0.35%. The Nairobi stock market was red hot, 1.28%, 157.86, while the GSE in South Africa was down by 0.31%, 96,609. Those are some of your market look back for Wednesday. Let's get on to some of the big stories on the continent. Today, we're getting news out of Ethiopia that the International Monetary Fund has approved the Article 4 consultation with the Ethiopian authorities, giving a thumbs up performance to the Prime Minister Abiy's administration across a number of areas. But of course, there's a whole lot more to do around the currency and other reforms supporting policies. But overall, it was a very big pass mark for the Ethiopian authorities. Thank you for a job well done. So this now opens the way for Ethiopia to access additional $263 million roughly from the International Monetary Fund. The total size of the package between the IMF and Ethiopia is now about 1.8 billion in US dollars. What else do we have in the region? The EFDB says Kenya is losing up to $1.5 billion every year into corruption and illicit financial flows. That's a slap on the administration of President Ruto. With so much leakages, public finance management now under serious pressure due to corruption and illicit flows. $1.5 billion every year. That's a pile of money on the table. In the meantime, the FDB has approved $400,000 in grants to deepen Ethiopia's capital markets, which is part of the reforms that Prime Minister Abiy and his team are doing in Addis Ababa. And Awash Bank Ethiopia has posted a jumbo 22 billion Birr's pretax profit for its full year 2024-2025 period. And finally, in that region, Vietnam and Tanzania said they have a deal to deepen ties around trade and investment. Let me take that up to West Africa. Senegal, the Agric Bank says it's raising credit to farmers by 8.1% ahead of the country's dry season. In the meantime, the IMF is asking Nigeria to reverse or to revise the 2025 budget because oil prices are set around $75 a barrel, now trading below that threshold, and could stay around that level for quite some time to come, as we'll see OPEC, of course, making further decisions and announcements on Sunday this week to bring additional 411,000 barrels of oil back to the market. So the IMF is Article 4 consultation. When I report on Nigeria, says you should go take the 2025 budget back to the drawing board and ramp up the cash transfers to Nigerians. Nigeria's economy depends on oil revenue as a backbone of the economy. That is just summarizing that for you. Nigeria's GDP forecast also reset slightly by the IMF. In the meantime, Tranos in Nigeria started the construction or the building of that 800 megawatt solar panel plant to boost the country's energy sufficiency. And President Tinubu's new tax laws, there are 4 of them that he signed just last week, will impact the market positively. And that's according to the group CEO at Carry Asset Management, Johnson Chukwu, in an interview with me on Wednesday. He said that companies listed on the market, including investors, are expected to take advantage of the new tax laws and expect more inflows in the market from retail investors as we go see the start of the new tax laws onboarding from the 1st of January 2026. Expect the new tax laws to reflect on the books of the companies effective from 2027. And Ghana reporting inflation down to 13.7%. Whatever President Dr. John Mahama is doing in Ghana seems to be working. And that's the lowest since 2021. And President Trump is set to host African Leaders Summit on July 9 to 11, 3 days in Washington, D.C. This is the first of such meeting with African leaders since President Trump returned to office in January this year. Remember, late last year, former President Trump also had a business summit with African leaders also in Washington. But let's see what will be on the table for President Trump this time around and what his key message will be to African leaders. And finally, in West Africa, EcoBank, headquartered in Lomé, Togo, and Google Cloud said they're teaming up to drive financial inclusion and tech innovation on the African continent. We appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to Southern Africa. And that's what we got grabbing a couple of news this morning, because the AFDB, the African Development Bank, has cut South Africa's 2025 growth forecast to a meager 0.8% because the DFI is worried about the impact of trade, President Trump, trade tariffs, and of course the face-off between Washington and Pretoria to impact Africa's most advanced economy. In the meantime, Mozambique Central Bank is reporting about 54.9 million euros in losses after 2023. Profits that was declared. The loss was in relation to 2024, by the way, for the Central Bank of Mozambique. And the AFDB has approved roughly $50 million in loan to spur Eswatini's economic growth, that landlocked economy in Southern African region. Nestle of Zimbabwe says it's raising Cerevita's production after demand is surging, backed by investment of about $7 million that is done to get the company up and running, and of course raising production for one of its iconic product. That's Cerevita. And SARB, South Africa's central bank, is looking to get tougher on mutual funds because the level of mutual banks, because the level of their impaired loans relative to the total loan book is rising now at about 12.8%. And that's given the governor, Lesija Kagyengo, and his team some sleepless nights, as it were. So let's finish up in North Africa. We've got a couple of headlines for you from that corridor where Morocco and Secure AI said they have a deal on the table to lead AI revolution in Africa, while Moody's ratings have joined Fitch to court Afrexim Bank's debt. Now, what Moody's reported on Wednesday was courting Afrexim Bank's debt closer to junk status, that's Baa2. And Libya says it's enforcing bank-only trade rule, no port access without approval from the central bank. That's the latest from the regional government in North Africa's economy. In Rabat, in business school in Morocco, says they have a partnership with AXA Services company to boost what you call graduate employability. In other words, linking education or classroom with the labor market. That's a good way to go, ensuring that those who graduate are employable, and that is expected to boost the economy and the level of skilled workforce in one of Africa's iconic economy. And those are your headlines for today, Frontier Opening Bell. But remember, Bloomberg reporting on Thursday that Nigeria's GT Bank is looking to float an offer on the London market, looking to raise $100 million. That's part of the recapitalization program of GT Bank, one of Nigeria's largest Tier 1 lender that's looking to meet the deadline set by the financial regulator, the central bank, by the end of March 2026. The clock is ticking. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. This is your Frontier Opening Bell for Thursday, the 3rd of July. Bye for now.